Welcome to Wani. With us today, we have Francesco Artusato of Devil You Know and All Shall Perish. How are you doing?
Hey, how's it going? Yeah, I'm doing great.
It's really a great honor having a chat with you again. We had a chat when you released the first album with Devil You Know, so it's really great to have you back here. Now that you're part of the Metal for Hire to offer services like session work, production, and mix. So I'm sure this collaboration you would have thought about it in advance. So what made you choose Metal for Hire?
Well, I got in touch with the owner, and it sounded like a very interesting kind of project,
Hmm.
and a lot of cool artists are part of it. So that was like very intriguing, obviously.
Yeah.
And yeah, and then it's a cool service. It's you pretty much you tell people what you have to offer, and when you have free time, and people can just get in touch with you, and it can be like lessons, can be like help, like suggestions for or like production advices, or
Hmm.
work on anything really, or like if somebody wants you to mix a record, or it's a really cool website.
Awesome, man. And they have a great roster with folks from Soilwork, even Megadeth. We have the guitarist, Threat Signal, and of course you as well. So I'm sure you were looking forward to keeping the roster in mind because the better the roster, more opportunities, right?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, that was like a big thing for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Now you're known to handle production duties as well. So how difficult do you feel is it like as an artist to take up these challenges?
Well, I mean, for me, it just started because just passion. I just love that part of the world of the music business, and then
Hmm.
music in general. Just I'm very fascinated by the whole production aspect,
Right.
and I was lucky to work with some good producers, and still working with producers where I just like learn so much. And then some people are in the studio for a month and they don't care about like how do the super pro place a microphone, or
Right.
how do they record certain things. For me, it was like since the beginning was just very fascinating and very like just curious, and wanted to learn. And um and so you start doing things, you start imitating what other people are doing, and
Hmm.
kind of like and then I mean it's like it is definitely a world that is just mostly like the biggest skill that you need is you need good ears. You
Right.
need to be able to hear certain things, because those are definitely more important than any other tool, any piece of hardware that you can have in the studio. So that's just learning a lot from these people, and then trying, and then making mistakes, and trying again, and try to get better. And just like the cool thing also is that now many times when I'm doing something, or I'm trying something that I've seen somebody do it, or like experimenting,
Hmm.
I still keep in touch with like all these producers. So I still get their advices, and
Right.
like help. And so it's a very fun thing for me. It's just like I know, like I do feel like I'm learning, because
Hmm.
you just see how much better your things are starting to sound. And right now, for example, I'm working. We're doing a full length with this band
Yeah.
here in California called Till All Is One,
Hmm.
and it's a really cool band. It's like a three-piece band where the bassist is really good, and a pretty busy style of bass playing,
Hmm.
and singers playing guitar. And so it's just like a kind of like a different arrangement
Right.
for what I'm used to. And so you just like, even in terms of production, you start thinking about how do you make the sound
Hmm.
huge in certain parts, even though it's like a trio, but you still think about how to arrange certain things, and to keep the sound like similar to what will be live. So it's very, very, it, it's just like a new thing every time, and
Hmm.
just like experimenting. So I love it.
That's cool because now that the studio, the budget by the label given to the band for studio is kind of reduced, so sometimes I feel that the bands opt to produce the album themselves rather than have a producer on board to take care of the stuff. So that's where I feel it gives you more room to explore.
Yeah, no, yeah, it's true. It's true. There's like many bands that it's something that 30 years ago would have been kind of like unheard, and people would have thought it's like, oh, this is if you're not doing it in the proper studio,
Hmm.
everything it's not gonna sound very good.
Yeah.
Now there's like even some of the biggest bands, they still like some of the guitar players like to record at home, like, and then send the eye tracks to the studio because it's a whole different kind of. I mean, I do like to record. Sometimes I do like to record, even for bigger project. I like to record guitars at home and
Hmm.
then get the material reamped or some of it in the
Hmm.
studio, and then for example with some of the solos that
Hmm.
I know I'm like totally a maniac when I'm recording solos, and I keep recording the same thing for like a couple of days sometimes.
Neat.
I know that being in the studio, I don't even want to put a producer through that. I just
Hmm.
want to have my own time and then just keep doing the things the way I want it. So for me, it's freedom. I
Right.
can do it at home.
Hmm.
All you need a good audio interface with good preamps, and you only tracking like a DI track, and then you go back in the studio. So there's so much that you can do now on your
Right.
own,
Right.
and people are faster learning too. So there's like even like kind of a minimal editing for guitar tracking, bass tracking, and all that.
Hmm.
It's good. Obviously, it's like if I'm recording acoustic guitars or like vocals or things like that. Those are I definitely want to do it.
Right.
The quality really matters where you're doing it. But like electric guitars, yeah, you could in theory do it all at home.
True, true, absolutely true. Now you're a guitar virtuoso and can easily adapt to various styles. I mean, we've seen it on WNO, your own, to sort of project, and of course, All Shall Perish. So, as a musician, how do you manage to maintain this balance? Yet you get to work on stuff which, let's say, is outside your style.
It's I guess it's really because it's the what I like to hear. It's like
Hmm.
it's the kind of sound that I like to hear in my ears, and then on the guitar.
Hmm.
So just try different things, and then kind of always try to kind of bring certain elements into the material that I'm writing,
Right.
and so it's something very I don't know very natural. It's like I mean sometimes I do feel like okay this part needs a little more of that, and so it's well thought, but most of the time it's just like a very natural process, and I like that kind of sound. I do, having like to me it just like a more rich type of result when you
Right.
have like more influences and you start hearing like different things, and then even like when you think about a whole record, you get a lot of variety and different things. So that's what I like to hear.
That's awesome. Now, you guys have entered. I mean, you did the pre-production, and you guys were supposed to start recording for the new Devil You Know album early June. So has it, began?
We're starting in 2 days.
Oh, two
Yeah,
days.
yeah, and yeah, we're super excited. All the music is done.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, done meaning all written and everything. With pre-production, we went over all the vocals and all the. So the music is there. It's like everything's written basically,
So,
and so yeah, and then we're about to start. So very exciting.
so we'll have one of the most crushing metal album of the year
Hopefully.
very soon.
Hopefully, and yeah, this record is it. We definitely we're. I mean, I know everybody says the same thing, but we're so excited. It's just the sound. It's just I really feel like even from the first record, which came out only a year ago,
Mm-hmm.
but it's definitely different and definitely a lot more mature.
Yeah, the first one was more angrier. I mean, at least more angry I've seen you from the individual guys and you as well. So I'm just wondering what sort of musical direction you guys are taking on this second album.
Well, I mean, definitely have still have a lot of melodies and all that part. Obviously, with Howard, we're gonna have like all kinds of all the things that he's known for. You know,
Yeah.
that we have all that, and the instrumental part is definitely. It's not something that we absolutely wanted to do, but it's definitely more interesting. It does. It's more intricate. It's more technical, but none of it was just done like, well, let's make it more technical, and that's it. It just like when we started writing, certain riffs would come up, and then certain drum parts, and then so automatically those are the songs, and a lot of the songs are more like a journey because
Nice.
it's instead of just thinking of like the simple structure of a song, you know, there's like all these middle parts where it just builds like this crazy things, and then there's like songs where it's more definitely a more prog kind of record.
Wow,
It's,
that's cool. That's nice to hear.
yeah, so it has a lot of that, you know, that influence, and a lot of cool transitions, a lot of, you know, the instrumental part is definitely more interesting this time.
That's awesome. And is Josh part of the album as well this time? Josh
Josh
Wilbur.
Will, yeah, he's producing the record,
Cool.
and yeah, and you know, he's obviously very well known for
Yeah.
you know working with a lot of you know great bands, and yeah, I was so excited. It was like literally like for this record, as soon as we started talking about the record, we all said like it needs to happen with him, and then we were ready. We were thinking about going starting the studio right at the beginning of the year, but he wasn't available because he was still finishing Lamb of God, and we said, well, we'll have to wait because we definitely want to work with.
That's
So we were willing to wait months, and yeah, and I mean, you know, it just the pre-production part was awesome to do it with him. He's very smart. He's very, you know, he understands the sound of a band. He's one of those producers. He's not trying at all to change the sound. He's just trying to make it better. And you can tell he's very respectful. He's, you know, it's like some producers, you know, they would tell you like, oh, I don't like this. Let's just make it this way because I like it better, and it's with no real reasons
right.
other than taste. But with Josh, it really feels like he's really thinking, and he really paid attention to the sound of what the band, you know, and even like sonically in terms of like in my case in terms of like guitar tones, and you know, he's not one of the guys like, oh, come in, plug it into that, we're playing with that because I like that amp. He's like, okay, let's experiment, let's play with your gear, with your sound. I want you to sound like what you usually sound. It's not, you know, I'm familiar with this amp and it's easy for me to produce with this amp, use that one. It's absolutely not that case. So very exciting.
That's awesome because the way he, we can easily figure out that he's behind the Lamb of God album or Kill or Be Killed or All That Remains, and now with Devil You Know. So you can find out that this guy has, you know, sonically, I mean, he's all ears in terms of how the record should sound.
Yeah, totally. And then that's why when you hear, you know, you hear Kill or Be Killed record, you hear Gojira record, and you hear Lamb of God. The production is very different. It's not one of those guys that makes everything sound the same, and that's what I like about the guy. That's really the effort that he puts into, you know, the actual sound. It's like whatever in terms of production, whatever that music's supposed to sound, and also like the differentiating. You know, this song is heavier, this song is less heavy. They're not supposed to have exactly the same. He's not one of those guys that he's just gonna, you know, load in like presets of a bunch of things and that's the album. You know, it is really working. Like, man, I saw like one of the first things, obviously being a fan of his work and being a fan of a lot of the bands he works with, and obviously being a fan of like the whole production kind of aspect.
Yeah.
As soon as we started dealing with him, and then when we were in at his studio for pre-production, I asked him to load a bunch of sessions, like Lamb of God sessions, Gojira session, Kill to Kill. So it's like opening all these things in Pro Tools, and it showed me like, you know, a bunch of things like what he's doing with the compression, EQ, and all that. It's like, and it's like fascinating to see how much is, is different. It's
Right.
definitely it's like some records. There's like certain techniques of production and mixing, and some other actually completely the opposite. So
That's
yeah,
awesome. So, when are you guys planning to release it? Is it going to be out this year?
yeah, it's gonna be out this year. It's gonna be out. Right now, we just pretty much like we pretty much talked about it and decided because
Hmm.
we could just yesterday actually was announced this huge tour that we're doing in Europe with
Yeah.
Five Finger.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for the
Five Finger.
Papa Roach.
Yeah. So the record will be out for that tour. So we're
So, where
talking
in
about like
November? I think the tour is
yeah,
going on. Yeah.
yeah. So beginning of November we'll have that record released, and
Awesome.
yeah. So yeah, it's gonna be exciting.
Exciting, definitely. Now, on to the other band, All Shoot Ready. So, are we ever going to see you guys coming back with the new stuff? Because I think you guys have already written a lot of songs for the new album. It's just that who's going to sing on that? So, any news on that?
Yeah. So I mean, we like literally in the matter probably of like a few weeks,
Mm-hmm.
we will like all have press release and everything,
Mm-hmm.
sing everything. But there's definitely the music is there,
Mm-hmm.
and then I mean I can tell you this definitely gonna be like something big this year, and
Wow. So,
yeah,
on the lines of announcing a new singer?
yeah, that too.
Awesome. That sounds really great because the material you wrote, I think, was somewhere done last year. And now, when we talk about the new guy being on board, there must be definitely you're going to modify certain things and make it more precise because obviously, from last 1 year, so many things have changed.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And that's the thing. It's like, it was a pretty long process for this record, and but it needs to be done the right way. So we just, it's taking time. It's taking time. Like a lot of people, even last year, I was talking to a lot of people, and then, I thought last year the record was gonna get done last year,
Hmm.
and so that didn't happen. But it's just because again it's not because we're sitting around and
Hmm.
then doing nothing. It's just because we really want to make sure the record is done right. So that meant going back to the studio, redo a bunch of things, change this, change that, and yeah, so it's getting there. It's
So,
very yeah,
we'll have two albums out this year then.
yeah, definitely.
Awesome, man. That's really great. Now that definitely is going to take you on a different level because you have so many tours coming up, which I feel that with the new album coming in for the next 1 or 2 years, you'll be totally booked with the tours and also in support of the new release.
Yeah, it's probably gonna look like I mean, it's gonna be one tour with one band, then tour with the other band, then tour with the other band. So it's like, yeah, it's gonna be pretty intense. Already this year, it's gonna look pretty crazy. But why not? I'm happy to do it.
Fantastic. So, is it possible for you to say who is the singer of All That Remains? Oh, sorry, All Shall Perish now.
Uh, and can't yet, obviously.
So we'll have an official press release out very soon.
Yeah, yeah,
Awesome,
yeah.
man. I'm super stoked for that. Looking forward to see you. So the tour coming up with Papa and Five Finger as well. I think you guys are doing a few headlining shows in states as well I think in August.
Yeah, and we're playing shows with Fear Factory and Cold Chamber.
Ah, right. Yeah, that's another
And
tour.
yeah, and so basically, we're adding between those dates. We adding some headliner shows
Mm-hmm.
that just some fun and play, and yeah. So that's gonna be July, August, end of July, and so we have that, and then basically off for now, but we're still working on more stuff, and then yeah, November will also the dates that were announced. There's gonna be with Papa Roach and Five Finger. There's gonna be more dates. That's
Yeah.
gonna be announced soon, and so there's gonna be tour's gonna be longer, and we might even decide to stay in Europe for a little longer and do more dates. So
That's
and
cool.
then yeah, and then next year I think we're gonna do more in the States.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're gonna try to also to move like to the other part of the world. So like do Asia and Australia again, and who knows.
Yeah, yeah, nonetheless. So is the stuff you guys are going to record after the recording of Devil You Know, or it's going to happen parallelly?
The Osho Parish?
Yeah.
Uh, well, the Osho Parish, I mean, I don't even know if what I'm supposed to say because we haven't really talked about it, I guess, but
Mm-hmm.
it's pretty much done,
Mm-hmm.
so that record is pretty much, you know,
It's all
yeah, so
done.
yeah, so it's all done.
Oh,
So
awesome.
so
Glad.
that is, yeah, that's done.
Cool, cool. So before I conclude the interview, it's very important for your fans to know because in the next few months you're going to release the album because you guys are going to go on tour. So if I had to ask you to define Devil You Know's highly anticipated second album's sound in just one sentence, how would you say?
Let's see, I would say definitely heavier, but still very melodic.
Wow, so like ball crushing with melody, let's say.
For sure. Yeah, totally.
Fantastic. Francesco Artusato, folks, the new album coming out in November, and also for fans of All Shall Perish. But do not forget that Francesco is available at Metal for Hire to offer services. So grab this opportunity, and thank you very much, Francesco, for taking some time to do this interview.